Hello, welcome to today's Profcast titled Declaring Independence. Today we're going to be looking at the actual decision to declare independence. As you read about in your web quest, you actually looked at the Declaration of Independence, but there's more to it than just the document. So let's get started. On July 2nd, 1776, the Continental Congress adopts Robert Henry Lee's resolution. You might remember that he had drafted this resolution and proposed it a little earlier, but the Congress was not ready to adopt it at that time. They kind of just created a committee to look at it. Well, July 2nd comes around and there have been a lot more battles. This is also after Common Sense was published. And the Congress decides, you know what? It's go time. We need to get rid of Britain. So on July 2nd, they adopt this, and John Adams, who's one of the leaders and later becomes president, exclaims that for centuries, people will honor this day with parades and celebrations. That is kind of true. However, we don't honor July 2nd. We honor July 4th. In your notebook, I want you to tell me why. Why do you think we celebrate the 4th of July instead of the 2nd of July? Once they adopt this resolution, they ask Thomas Jefferson to present a formal declaration. And Jefferson gets to work, and he comes up with some drafts that people give him some feedback for, and he revises it, proofreads it, changes it, and finally on July 4th, change slide, on July 4th, 1776, Congress reads that draft and they approve it. Once they sign their names to that letter, they have committed treason. Treason is one of your vocabulary words, and treason means to officially or to formally go against your country. And treason is punishable by death. So in England, they say if you find any of these people that committed treason, bring them back here and we will hang them in the town square. Treason is a pretty big offense. In fact, in America, if you commit treason, it is one of the few crimes punishable by death. So now that we've committed or stated our independence, the war changes. It's no longer about becoming equal British citizens, but it's about becoming citizens of our own country and about winning independence. And this angers the king. He now sees this as more than just a little skirmish, and he decides that we, Britain, will win the war at any cost. And so, what do you think that means? I want you to answer in your notebook what you think it means when the king says that they will win at any cost. What does that mean? Next slide. Let's look at the actual document. And you looked at some of the sections of this on Friday, but in total, Jefferson accomplished a couple of goals. He set out to do a few things. And the first thing he does is he states the rights of the people. We hold these truths to be self-evident, or these rights to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And then he says that people, he goes on to say that when these rights are not being carried out, that the people have the power to form their own government. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. This is a revolutionary and radical idea. Before then, people assumed that the king or the queen or the pharaoh or whoever it was had the right to govern from God. And no one could mess with that. Jefferson throws that on his head. He says, no, if the government is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, get rid of it. It's done. Then he states specific violations of the Parliament and the King. So he's stating all of the ways that Parliament and the King have violated the people's rights. He then goes on and states all of the things that the colonists have done to try and keep peace. He says that this isn't our first choice, but we've petitioned him for change in humble terms. We've repeated our petitions when they weren't answered, and now this is the final straw. And then he ends it by saying that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. They are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown. Declaring, that's why we call it a Declaration of Independence. At the end, Jefferson declares our independence. In your notebook, I want you to answer, why do you think Jefferson did these four things or had these four tasks? Why didn't he just say, we're declaring our independence? Next slide. Once the document was signed, it was copied by hand or printing press. Remember, they didn't have Xerox machines or email or anything like that. And they posted it up everywhere across the country so that everyone knew this. And currently, it's in Washington, D.C. in an airtight, bulletproof case. And if something happens that threatens our national security, it's suctioned down hundreds of feet underground into a vault. So it's a pretty cool thing. That and the Constitution are the two documents that on September 11th, when we were attacked, immediately were brought underground. In case the building was destroyed or there was a fire or something, it would ensure that these documents would last forever. And in your notebook, I want you to answer, why do you think we go through such trouble to keep these documents safe? Why do we go through such trouble to keep these documents safe? Next slide. Your final assignment is to think of how technology has changed since 1776. Jefferson wrote this by pen, gave it to his friends, they shared it to revise it, they made their changes by pen, and then he rewrote it. What do you think Jefferson would do today? How would he declare independence today? Would he update Facebook? Would he tweet about it? Would he take out a big billboard? Radio advertisements, TV advertisements? I want you to choose 3 ways in which Jefferson could declare independence and create your own declaration. Keep certain things in mind. If it's a billboard, it's probably going to be something that's a lot shorter. Maybe just a couple of words. If it's a tweet, it has to be under 160 characters. That means spaces and letters. If it's a radio or a TV advertisement, maybe it would be a little bit of a song, so feel free to sing if you want. If you're doing a billboard, feel free to do it on poster paper and actually create a billboard instead of just writing it. The more creative you are, the better.